Welcome back to another episode of Warren Cali. In this episode, I'm going to detail the story of Big James Miller from the original Harlem 30 Crips. Big James was born James Miller on July 27, 1955 in Los Angeles, California. Initially, James grew up in a two-parent home, but his parents would later split up, and he would later move around Los Angeles in various different areas. Much of James' childhood, he would be back and forth between his mother and father's homes, putting him to go to different schools in different areas and meeting a host of new people. As a kid, James was chubby, so he was often picked on because of his weight. But by middle school, James would go through a transition, and his body would change with him becoming muscular. And the past issues that he faced would build hate and vengeance in James, and anybody who messed with him in the past or the future were going to pay for it. Over the teenage years of James' life, he became known for being a tough individual, and he would go against anybody who opposed him. During the 70s and James' teenage years, Crips and blood gangs started forming all over Los Angeles, and James and his crew of friends would form a gang called the Harlem Godfathers. And James is credited as being a founder of that gang. James would go to various high schools like Dorsey and Manual Arts, and was known as a football star, but James was still active and gangbanging heavy in the streets. And at Manual Arts, he would get into it with the Brims, a gang a lot of the Crips hated. The Brims would eventually become Bloods and a top rival to several Crip gangs, like the gang that James would be in. With everything that James was involved in the streets, James would go to juvenile hall and even youth authority during his teenage years, and he would further his name in the gang world, being known for his size, which he would gain the name Big James or BJ, and his heart in his leadership and fighting skills got him respect from several sets. Back on the streets, Big James would become even more vicious over time. His street activities would gain him the name the Brim Killer, with the Brims or other Bloods being his gang main rival. And that's something Big James would take to heart, trying to destroy every rival in his way. The Harlem Godfathers would later become the original Harlem Crips, and other names like the Rollin 30 Crips off their geographical location within their turf, with their turf being located on the west side of South Central, within the streets based in the 30s. By the mid-70s, Big James was causing a lot of destruction in the streets, with him being a part of a lot of shootings, a lot of gang wars, and also a lot of robberies. But by 1976, James would be arrested on a long list of charges, from a long list of robberies, kidnappings, and also murders. And this would be a long dragged out case that took 4 trials to finally decide Big James and his co-defendant's fate. After 3 mistrials off this case, Big James will be sentenced to life in prison at the young age of 21. While in prison, Big James' reputation and status will grow, becoming one of the most reputable and known Crips mentioned in history. He would be a major part of several Crip organizations in prison, like Blue Magic and CCO. CCO would mean Consolidated Crip Organization, but CCO would later disband on several factors, mostly being inner circle turmoil. And Big James would even have his own issues with CCO over him calling shots that would lead to several members getting disciplined, which led to beef within the gang. That move would lead to Big James almost losing his life. After several years in prison, James would start to change his gangster ways and focus on becoming a better man, and he would pick up skills and trades while in prison. Big James had endured a lot of chaos in his life, from juvenile hall, youth authority, and prison, which he went to prison for the rest of his life at the young age of 21. So in his final days of life, Big James will be at peace until his death in 2006 at the age of 50. Big James spent over 30 years of his life being locked up, and he gained a deadly reputation from the streets to prison. The gang he helped form, the Rollin 30 Crips, will go on to be one of the most known Crip gangs in Los Angeles and around the world, having different branches in other cities and other states. All that came from Big James doing. This will conclude this episode. If you haven't already, check out my previous episodes. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.